Can y'all see me? Can y'all hear me? Well, y'all about to, because we got a lot of stuff to talk about here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show. Big time weekend. We're going to talk about it. I'm your host, Jay. Thank y'all for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. While you're here, please go ahead and wipe your feet, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it, just give us 5 anyway. Gifted. We've got the cavalry in. Everybody that pulled up. We ain't seen him in a minute. We got our boy Chris in here. Of course, Coop is here. And PG ran to go get a hoodie, so he'll show up one of these days. Gentlemen, we got a commitment, baby. Manny Choice. We got to dive into that. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some future casts that came through. We're also going to talk about some potential other players that we're looking at. And, there's a big SEC party coming out in about a week. So, Coop, how you feeling? Chris, tell the people where you're from and where to find you, and then we'll wrap up with PG doing the same. So, Coop, lead the way.
Feeling great. Feeling good. I'm having some trouble with the typing, but otherwise than that, looking good.
That's what I'm talking about.
I was just going to jump in here and say, Horns Down Podcast, you already know where I'm at. You already know it's about to be a lot of, Texas fans feeling really down because, season about to start. So off-season chatter is over with, so you can find me, Horns Down Podcast. Yeah. YouTube, Twitter, all that. Go ahead.
Hey, that season starts on July 17th, right?
I'm done with
y'all can find me on YouTube at the PG Show. Y'all know where I'm at.
Y'all stop playing with these people, man. But yeah, no, man, it's good to see all of y'all. We've got a lot of fun things to talk about, mainly because we had the big weekend, Champ U barbecue weekend. You saw all the social media posts. What's good, everybody? Got to say hi in the chat. Y'all saw the big posts. Y'all saw everybody's excitement. It appears that a lot of stuff has gone down this weekend. Of course, the first and foremost, we'll lead off with this. Emanuel Choice, Manny Choice, committed. Lancaster, Texas, wide receiver, 6'4", about 195, 200. Then we've got a few future cast and crystal balls and predictions that came down the line. And then we've got a couple of far-fetched opportunities. So let's dive into the most important thing here. Manny Choice. Manny Choice is part of the 25 class. That gives us 4 wide receivers in this class. Grayson Harris, you got Marcus Harris, Elijah Thomas, and now Manny Choice. PG, lead it off with you. How'd you feel about seeing that commitment? I know we both dropped our videos and all, but what jumped out to you about them winning Manny Choice's services?
Well, it's about time that we get this announcement. I think we've been chasing this recruitment for 2.5, 3 months now. But he didn't take very many visits a lot of places. I think he only took like 3 or 4 visits to Oklahoma, and I think the next closest was TCU at 2. So this wasn't a guy that went around the ringer and saw a bunch of schools, but Emmett Jones lined it out perfectly in his tweet earlier, talking about, hey, like, remember who offered you first, remember who believed in you first, and that was Oklahoma. So going 4 wide receivers now, potentially 5 in this class, that intrigues me a ton. So, I'm excited about this one. 6'4", adding a little bit more size. I think some of your other wide receivers from the last class that were that tall were Carry-On, Curdy. So you've got some size in that room.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me heavily of Nick Anderson in the way of 3-star, didn't do a lot of visits, not known by very many, and then all of a sudden he jumps out on the scene, right? That, to me, was huge. And yes, Hank, you know me. We need to give EJ a raise because it seems that he's been able to figure this process out extremely fast. We lost Chris. Not sure where he ran off to, but he'll probably be back in just a minute, probably adjusting some things. But Coop, seeing the Manny Choice pick up, how you feeling on it?
You love size. When you start seeing Nick Six doing the deal that he does, you get Jaden Gibson, who once again is about to have himself a nice little year. You're putting together different body types and different body sizes, and we saw that as Sooner fans just over the past couple of years, going up against guys in just random different schools, and they're 6'4", 6'3", just going up over smaller defensive backs. So when you throw out a decent amount of variety in your receiver sizes, I mean, we win, right? That's what you want to do. You got the burners coming in. You've got the kind of the tweeners, guys like Elijah Thomas. You got the Harris kids, and it's you throw in that size, and that jump ball drill and that red zone is going to be a fun thing to watch here coming up.
I 100% agree with you there. I think having like another Nick Anderson's gonna be fun. Someone that's gonna be hungry too. I love that he talked about how his first offer was Emmett Jones, and then Emmett Jones tweeted out about him, you should always, appreciate that first offer, the first person to actually believe in you, blah, blah, blah. He gave you all of that. And then Colin Kennedy over there at Sooners Illustrated posted the quote from Manny talking about how EJ was his first offer. Can't beat that, man. Chris, I know you know a little bit about him. You was pretty excited about him in the recruiting trail. How you feeling about this Manny Choice pickup?
Watching his highlights now, I definitely would say this. He is a Mr. Do-it-all type of guy. I mean, the guy is taking snaps out of the backfield. I mean, he is catching it all over the place. To be honest with you, before we got on here, Coop said Dwayne Jarrett, and I can see that because he's going to play for Emmett Jones, possibly blossoming into a really good wide receiver, right? Thank God that he's playing in this era of swinging ball, or he would be Mikey Henderson. But with that being said, I don't think that that's a bad comp for him as well. I don't think that I'm not necessarily sure on kind of like the measurables. If he's a burner, it doesn't necessarily look like that. It looks like he's just another solid guy that gets it done. And probably, honestly, let's be real, in a Smitty program and under Emmett Jones, I don't think that Nick Anderson has a world blazing speed, but I do think that he's a great wide receiver and he has the chance to be elite this year, right? So at the end of the day, it's going to be really interesting to see how this kid fits in. But looking at his film, he looks like a Mr. Do-It-All, a guy that can get it done wherever, and you could put him there. And you need guys like that. You don't need a burner out there on the field, every single player or whatever, because I mean, let's think about it. CeeDee Lamb has great speed, like great game speed, right? But he's a gamer. He's just a solid player all around where you could get him on a jet sweep. You can get him on a bubble screen. You could get that. He can make something out of nothing. So this kid here looks like what Venables wants to recruit anyways, which is what a football player at the end of the day.
Yeah. And on that, what's interesting, you say that him being a gamer, right? When I look at this class, I honestly feel like Elijah Thomas is the gamer of this one. Like he's the one that's just high-end elite. And he's going to be the one that's going to walk in and be more of your CeeDee Lamb. I see Manny being the one going out there and just catching deep touchdowns on a regular basis,
I can see
right?
that as well.
You know what I'm saying? Kind of like Nick Six was, right? He's just coming out of nowhere. Catch certain passes and go. Do I see 1,000 yards out of him? No. 500? I could totally see it out of him. I think Elijah's more of your 1,000-yard receiver. I think both Harrises can get you about 750.
What is he? A ceiling is pretty high. I don't know what his ceiling could be, right? But what is his floor at the very least could be what, Lee Norris?
Trying to think of who Josh gave him a comp of. I think I saw it on Scoop, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I gotta go look that up. Marcel Aitman.
Aitman, OSU guy.
That's a really good comp.
That's a solid comp, actually.
That's a solid comp. Yeah, that's a really
good. Pretty solid.
If you go through and you watch his film, he just has solid. He gets the ball and he turns and goes, and you just watch every single bit of it. I do want to see a little bit more with the catching of the hands. He lets the ball get a little bit too close at times, but yeah, I mean, you see him take off. Lee Morris, I mean, all that dude did was catch touchdowns too. So I mean, that ain't bad either.
No. And he looks like he could be a red zone target with carry on as well. I mean, and that's what you're really stacking with that different. You got the Ragans of the world, KJ Daniels of the world, who my uncle always compare. He says, "Hey, we got two Hollywoods on campus and people are not talking about it." And he's like, "You put those guys out there in the slot and make those guys just work everybody else, and then you got guys like Carryon. Kearney is the same way, and he has a similar build as Kearney as well. I mean, you got guys over there that are going to be freshmen this year, and you're just really just stacking these classes. So I'm really, really excited what they've done for these next two classes, especially kind of bouncing back from, which I call it a bounce back, getting Harris this in this class, this 25 class as well. When you lost out on Nickens, right? So, I mean, I really like what they're doing. I just think that you got to put it on the field because Emmett Jones is Emmett Jones, but I think once Latrell adds that extra element to it, that per se, with the offense just booming, it's gonna get messy out here in these wide receiver streets.
Yeah, man, and Steven asked this question, which is an interesting one. I talked about it in the video, but this is a very good one for those that haven't seen the commitment video I put out, or even one PG put out. Is why is EJ taking so many wide receivers? Because this is 4 wide receivers, and there's a possibility for a 5th, right? We'll talk about crystal balls in a minute, but Cortez Mills has got a crystal ball and a prediction to Oklahoma. But why are we taking so many wide receivers? There's expectation for exodus of players. And this is my thought process. Y'all tell me if I'm crazy, right? This year you've got Deion Burks, who's gone. He's gone after this season. There's no way that he'll be back next season. But coming up, Deion Burks will be gone. If Nick Anderson has another season like this past one, which I think he's going to be up, he's gone. Farouk's going to graduate. He's gone. And if things work out well, there's a chance that either Jaden Gibson or Andrell Anthony could potentially be draft bound. And I think that it'll be based upon if they hit their ceiling, like cap-wise as far as the draft. Not saying that they won't get drafted or say that they're stuck. There's probably a certain level where everyone believes that, hey, you're probably no more than a 3rd, 4th, 5th rounder. And this is probably where you're going to land no matter what. You probably should go now because your stock's not going to go up any higher, right? So there's a chance 4 dudes could be gone after this year. So you bring in 5. You still got young Petaway, right? And then you got all the young wide receivers behind that with, the 2 Zions, as you mentioned, Chris. That's my thought. PG, what are you thinking about that?
No, I mean, I simply agree with you on that. That makes total sense that you could have 3 to 4 wide receiver exits. I do wonder, though, how high Jaden Gibson's draft stock is going to be at the end of the year, and then is it enough for him to actually want to leave?
Right. That's why I kind of wonder about the cap, right? Because they're going to tell you, say, hey, you're probably no more than a day 3 guy.
Yeah, and
you're probably
then
no more than round 3 or a day 2 guy. You're no more than a day 3 guy. I'm sensing that that's probably what he'll hit. He may end up hearing he's day 3, and then he just needs to show out and move himself up.
Yeah, and I think the other X factor too is what happens with Andrell Anthony. Like, does his injury set him out long enough to where he can't play and work himself into contention for getting to the NFL this year? Or, is he able to play early enough to make the NFL scouts see him again, put enough on film to, potentially make himself that first-round wide receiver that we kind of thought he could be last year?
Well, that's a good question. That's a good point. Cool.
And you also got Hester. Hester's going to be bouncing too, and you got to have people in that room. But the NFL, I mean, you look at what's going on with wide receivers right now. People are willing to draft more and more and more wide receivers because you're not doing it with running backs. You got to have guys out there. You can scheme up against one good wide receiver, but you look at programs that in the NFL who have one good dude and a bunch of just names, like the Cardinals had with with Kyler the past couple of years. You're going to have more. So I mean, yeah. Now Anthony, if he comes back this year, that's the thing is that rehab. And the last thing that I had heard is that it wasn't looking positive. It was looking more like maybe we just don't rush this thing. So, but you want to keep it going because this is the time. With the transfer portal, you got Jaquez Petaway, who is a guy who's playing already somewhere else. And he is being patient. He's being a team guy, and he is sitting in there, and he is waiting his turn. And when he gets his opportunities, we want to see what he can do. So with this room this well, I mean, when you get on the field, you better do it, because if you get your number called, and I don't care if it's a jump ball or a jet sweep, you got to make your stamp.
To piggyback off of that, and maybe this will just wrap this point up, but I think the biggest thing is that we all as Sooner fans need to embrace this new era of Sooner football, Sooner recruiting. It's hard. I walked out of my house telling my uncle, hey man, like, maybe we shouldn't get Okoye. Maybe we shouldn't get Winery. Maybe we shouldn't get all these guys, because you're not used to that. It's been a while since we've been under Bob, to the point where that was the normalcy around here. People forget a lot of the stuff, obviously is recency bias, and deservingly so. But the Georgias, the Bamas, and all of them of the world, when they were down, we were up. We've been down a little bit. We won a lot, but we've been down a little bit. But at the end of the day, that was the normalcy around here. That was the routine thing around here. You had players you were 3-4 deep at every position around here at OU, and you were able to look around and say, hey, that kid next year is going to be hell. That kid there next year is going to be hell. He's redshirting this and that. We're getting back to that era. And the whole thing is that we're scared simply because we're not used to that. And we're not used to that. We've been unseasoned for that, right? And then also, fact of the matter is NIL plays heavy into that as well, so it scares a lot of people. But we're getting back to Sooner football and Sooner recruiting, how it's supposed to be done. So the fact is you're being able to stack these players or whatever. Don't be scared that people are going to leave. People leave Bama and Bama, Georgia, all those schools right there. That is how you recruit in the SEC. You got to stack talent to stack talent. And if that talent is going elsewhere, that's fine, because you're going to keep recruiting the same type of kids and getting those type of kids. So I think we just need to kind of rewire our brains to understand that.
No, that's a fair point. It's hard to realize just how good you are in the moment, right? It's always a hindsight thing. You look back on it, be like, man, we had this, and then sometimes you're like, oh man, I wish we would have had that, etc., so on and so forth. And so it's hard to appreciate it until you actually step back into it and see what it looks like. So yeah, so we got, it sounds like a lot of excitement around future cast and predictions and everything. Before we talk about that, thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe. If you're listening, rate, review. Give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it, just give us 5 anyway and gift it. Y'all see that edge that we got a future cast for? Did y'all hear that news? Max Granville, player I told y'all that I felt like was 100% a must-have player. He done got a whole bunch of predictions toward us now. Shout out to Josh McQuistion over there at On3. He has had his in forever. Since like November? He ain't bucked one time. Colin Kennedy's been on it since January. Shout out to him. But it 100% sounds like we're legitimately in on this player. Coop, what does it feel like getting somebody of that status?
I mean, when you're an edge guy, the motor is everything. And if you have to describe Max Granville, PG, would you say motor is probably one of the first things that you bring up for Granville? The guy he won't quit. Can't stop, won't stop. And so, listen, everybody has wanted Max. Everybody wanted Granville, and the Sooners have been there for so long and just kept in with him. And Granville and that effort and not pivoting off, and whether it's Allie, Venables, Chavis, Bates, everybody going in and having the conversations with him. We knew this weekend was very, very big to go ahead and solidify and do more than just talk about the program, but really put some of these players, these key visits, into the mindset of seeing themselves as a Sooner, sitting down and going over film with the coaches, that, how he's going to do when he arrives on campus. Seeing that with Schmitty and seeing some of the notes on Schmitty ain't playing around this summer. He's kicking folks out of practice. He's telling them, come back later. You got to start over. I don't see the effort. I don't see that there, because this is a time to where you start seeing some of that success and you say, guys, you like the 10 wins. I love it. I'm so happy that we got 10 wins. We ain't there yet. We got to keep pressing. And so, Granville he is that guy, and this is a high football IQ, and he's got some speed to burn too. And I really just this is one that makes me smile. And so when we see this cha-ching come through, it is going to be glorious.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna lose my mind. Yeah. Chris, what you think about this one? I know you were on Granville early. Oklahoma lands Granville. What you gonna say?
Look, all I'm gonna say is this right here. He's a great looking athlete. Great looking athlete. He looks. That's the bill. Yeah, that's the bill. And if I may just kind of jump into that 27 class, Zach Rowe has that build as well.
Zane Rowe, yeah.
Zane Rowe, yeah.
Zane does.
Like that. I'm starting to try to look at it from a different perspective. When you see those kids, the first thing you're looking for is those limber athletes that are just walking out there. And it's hard to really distinguish the two and try to get away from that. But as we enter more and more of this BV era, we are getting to just where we can talk simply about OU because we have the material, right? But very Clemson-like. Very Clemson-like right here. This is a guy that you could see. His body type is where, whatever he wants to play when he gets there. I think he could do what he needs to do. And they're going out there. Like I said, he just looks like a freak athlete, honestly. He looks really limber, looks really, I'm just saying, technique-wise, all the rest of the stuff. Like, I've watched some of, I've went through the list, watched some of these kids, and I was really impressed with this guy. And I was just like, man, if we can land a kid like that right there, that's those building blocks. Those are those depth pieces right there right away that could really help, especially with what we're trying to do. I think that if we can get Stoney, Jaden Jackson, guys like that to really turn that corner, Grayson Halton as well, those young guys too, to where it makes that transition easier, I think that you will be able to see some freshmen come in that following year and be able to actually contribute because they're going to make it so much easier. They're going to make life so much easier because all the double teams and all the rest of that. But that's another kid. These Texas is starting to – it's just funny to me because years ago I heard that OU was broken. I heard that because NIL was going to – the doors of Texas were going to close on
Oklahoma
outside of Texas. But it just didn't happen. And it's not going to happen. But no, this is a kid right here where you say, hey, he Bates and Venables get that kid at Clemson. And you don't usually see a kid like that coming on campus here, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you there, and that's what I like the most is that we're really looking more and more like the Clemson recruiting, right? Early years, and I say that specifically because I say Stone was definitely your prize jewel. He's the one that was the high-ranked guy, the 5-star guy that everybody wants BV and staff to get. He's the one that kind of helps show what this staff is doing, and Jaden Jackson's going to be the sleeper that comes in and be's what your Shaq Barrett guy that that was very low rated and comes in and boom goes out there and gets himself drafted high. That's what we're getting at. We're into that place where Oklahoma's looking like what Clemson was back then. I've said this in the past before, and it's funny because RJ Young has said it too. Which I thought was funny is that what Clemson became is what Oklahoma should have been, right? That's what we should have been at that time. The way that they, with Venables there at the defensive guy and really honing in and making changes, that's who we should have been. Good thing is now we're starting to shape ourselves in that way. We're bringing back the Oklahoma standard, and I think BV is going to get us in a nice spot. PG, looking at Granville, getting excited about Granville. How you feel about that?
No, so kind of piggybacking to Coop's point at the beginning, Granville's just explosive, and this might be one of the better defensive end prospects in this class. But I kind of jumped off this bandwagon early. I think you and I were talking about this earlier. Earlier in the year, I was high on it, and then probably about April, you started to hear a lot of buzz around A&M and Penn State, and it felt like at the time Oklahoma and Granville were kind of moving off of each other, and to the point of I think we were asking questions leading up to the Champion Barbecue if this visit was going to happen, mainly because you started to hear some momentum with Orogbo. We have the presumed silent commitment from Cade Petchak. And I think there was just this thing of, okay, maybe OU's going different. So it just shocked me that this weekend went so well for him. And I don't think we're going to see this recruitment probably drag on too much longer for him.
Crossing my fingers, man. I'm hoping that he go ahead and knock this bad boy out before August. Just go ahead and just make it happen.
This would be a big time win because you'd get it over Texas A&M because Texas A&M wants him real bad, whether they're in the running or not. And Penn State, who, I mean, they recruit high on the defensive side of the ball.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they really do, which is
They
wild
really
to me.
do. Yeah.
I mean, edge-wise,
win
like, it's
for
funny
Oklahoma.
because the Wilt Fong article talked about Max. I'm going to pass it to you, Chris, in a second because I know you had a thought. Granville, the article Granville was talking about the scheme at Penn State. And when I read what Wilt Fong was writing on there about his dad was saying, I was like, oh, yeah, I see that. I mean, Penn State's infamous for they're considered linebacker U, right? They put out some elite linebacker play all the time. You know, even going from Parsons, which is the most recent one, all the way back into LeVar Arrington. They put out dudes that potentially can hit, Hall of Fame status. And then edge-wise, they move them back and forth. Yeah, scheme makes sense. The best part about Granville for me here is he feels like because of how good of an athlete he is, he runs track as well, he does hurdles. He could be at his size as Isaiah Simmons for us, right? He's not 6'5", but he could be a Simmons that moves around, that cheetah role, but one that just plays every other position, like, right? You don't have him only a cheetah. You throw him at linebacker, you move him back into safety and just let him roam. Just let him go out there and attack nonstop. That, to me, could be huge. But I expect him to be an edge.
Yeah.
He'll be your Will Anderson for Oklahoma, hopefully.
Yeah.
And he just terrorizes people. Go ahead.
I would say more that I think that if we get an idea of putting him kind of at that cheetah role or whatever, you kind of get the same as kind of the same result as you got with Deshaun McCullough. Like, hey, I think we should probably put this guy closer to the ball because he's a freak, closer to the ball, right? But I was just gonna ask, what are you guys comp for him? Maybe Isaiah Simmons right there, but what is your guys comp for this guy?
For Granville?
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you guys go because somebody asked me this question and I had a little debate, and I want to hear yours first.
I'm going to be honest, man. That's a tough one.
It is.
Ooh.
I don't think you can comp him close to a linebacker. I don't think he can be comped close to a linebacker or a cheetah. I think he has to be comped similar to somebody on the defensive end.
Oboe.
Oh no, I broke my elbow. That guy.
That man.
He looks like a thicker Oboe Okoronkwo, and I feel like he's doing okay in the NFL currently. And he's got a little bit more of that hand down look to him. But I mean, like you said, this is a cat. With Deshaun McCullough, he's just big, lean, and long. And I mean, he's going to be a guy that's always going to be struggling for more weight. Whereas I think that Granville is a guy that, as his good muscle and he's a big dude, but I mean, as he becomes and gets that grown man strength, this is a guy who, he is going to have himself. He's going to get stronger with his hands, and he's going to get stronger in the base. And just speaking with another offensive line recruit this weekend, these guys are just so jacked to work against what's going out there. And, Coach Dent is in the house, but it's these young offensive linemen going against these young defensive linemen. Guys who don't get to play this year are still getting better, and they are just getting stronger, and it's that iron sharpens iron mentality. And, I mean, you got I think McQuiston was talking about, in 2027 projecting out Okoye at like a first round draft pick. And these guys are getting in, they're getting nasty, and they're getting better because you have to. You cannot stay on the field in practice if you're not getting better, much less getting out there in game time. So that's where, when the season kicks off, you're gonna have a lot of people ready to go out and show out what this team's been doing during the summer.
Obo's a good
that
comp, but
comp.
I think he's a little faster than Obo.
Could he? Okay, so because I'm big on this when we start talking about some of these kids, like what are their comps, like what are their floors, what are their ceilings? Is a 4 for this kid just off a simple look and just see? I could see instant production from the kid. Are we looking at? I mean, he kind of has a similar type, maybe not necessarily the body type, but kind of just a similar hype, similar type to him, to like a Nigel Smith that we already have on campus, or are we looking kind of in that Isaiah Thomas type of production? Or
I mean, IT took some time, and I mean he didn't pop until his junior year, and then he balled his senior year. And so, I mean, you look at guys like in the past, like RJ Washington, another guy who took some time to really get the defensive line piece down. So it's going to be up to what Allie and Venables want to do with him and where they want to put him. And we've been talking. We talk about basketball with positionless basketball, and that's what this defense continues to do. Is you got guys like Jaden Jackson, you know who he is, but you got guys like Stone, you got guys like Nigel Smith, you got guys like Boganowski. You've just got so many of these guys who you can put them at 2-3 different places, and it's hard. I mean, that's why they get paid $7 million to be the head coach of the football team and have their raises criticized up and down Twitter, is because they get to make them decisions and they have to make those decisions. And, when you have guys who can do so many different things, they got so many different tools. I mean, it just puts a smile on your face because having specialists, that may be something, but these guys are going to be able to move around, and that is also going to help them when it comes time to getting on the field. And yeah, Taylor Heim, another. I mean, there's positionless freaks out there.
There's a lot of positionless players, and I think I like that that's what they go after because you can move them between edge and linebacker, keep their speed while bulking them up. Because, I mean, I think Heim is up in the 240, almost 250 range now. So he can play linebacker. He can play edge. Granville, it's really hard to figure out a comp for Granville just because I think he's just so versatile. I don't think we've had anybody as versatile as he is on this campus probably in a long time. So I have to go back years and look at some of the edges that we had.
I got one for you. I've got a perfect comp for him. Eric Stryker. Similar weight, similar height, similar explosiveness on that first step.
That's not far-fetched.
I thought about that too, PG.
And yeah, and
I mean, you gotta go back.
Look, if you can get Stryker type of production out of him, yeah, you'll take that all day long.
Yeah, you got to go back, and that's what you want. It's exactly what you want. Well, in that case, Granville, of course, got everybody excited in here. I sense that. Keep your eyes open on that one. Lloyd asked this question, PG, and I thought this was a great one for us. What do we think about Jaden O'Neal, right? He put out a top 10, the quarterback from 26. We're talking about how everybody's getting quarterbacks right now. Everybody's getting their 26 quarterbacks. Me and PG actually recorded a video talking about that not too long ago. I think he's going to put that up soon, probably tomorrow. Keep your eyes open for that. Go over to the PG show and show him some love. But real quick, real simple. We'll just simply put it here. I think we've got a good chance with all the crystal balls coming in for Jaden O'Neal to commit. I'm not sure. Hopefully the commitment is soon since everybody else is doing their commitments now. But if I'm correct, he's going to be on 247 on Monday?
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
Yep, there you go. I'm sensing that we've got a very good chance of landing Jaden O'Neal. I think I'm going to go ahead and just put my own brisket crystal chicken wing on this one. We're going to go for it. PG?
Yeah, no, I mean, this is, I think, a guy that could be Oklahoma's next 5-star quarterback when it's all said and done. like that's the kind of talent Jaden O'Neal is. I mean, Jay, you were there when Jaden O'Neal walked into the Everest Training Center. The heads turned, and I mean, yeah, like Jaden O'Neal is just that dude.
He really is. He really is. Funny enough, we talking about Schmitty a minute ago. Coach Dent, Marcus Dent, shout out to you, my man. Appreciate you pulling up as usual. One of the parents send me a picture of what Isaiah looks like. I'm just gonna say, jeez, that boy, they got thick. Schmitty
Isaiah
cooking.
Dent.
Oh,
Yeah, Schmitty cooking. Schmitty cooking. Just know that he is working their butts off, and I love it. Love it. And last thing on Granville before we move on. Reggie Powers' dad, big Reggie Powers was in here. Reggie Powers Jr., thank you for pulling up. He said that if Granville wants that 13, he may have to pay up. He may not get that off RP3's hands. Because RP3 is going to definitely show us how much he earned that number. All right, next set of crystal balls and chicken wings and all of that stuff that came through. From last week, you had Cortez Mills, right? The wide receiver, another wide receiver, which would be, what's that, the fifth one?
Yeah.
wait, I think you said his name wrong.
Did I?
Yeah, it's Odell Beckham Jr.
Oh no.
Isn't that
Chris.
right, Coop? Isn't that right, Coop?
Hey, I'm just saying.
Game wise, I'm not. You're not off. I mean, 6'1", roughly 180. Yeah.
If you
Hey, Chris, do you know the CD catch that didn't end up being a catch on the sideline?
yeah.
That's just Tuesday for Cortez.
Yeah, that's his highlight reel.
That guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he high points the ball. I mean, Odell changed a lot for folks, for kids out there in the playground, and people have been working on it. This guy doesn't just work at it. I mean, it's part of his repertoire.
I'm
Yeah, it
gonna
really is.
flow. I like the kid a lot. I'm not gonna go as far as saying like prime Odell Beckham, which we knew was a problem, which we all knew was a problem, especially when healthy and in his prime. Odell Beckham, problem. Now, problem occasionally, but like yes, problem. I see this kid honestly, and this is still high praise. I know this is gonna be really high praise as well, but I see this kid being somebody who could develop into kind of a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson type. Honestly, like he has superstar wide receiver potential written all over him, because when you're watching his highlights, all he's doing is just making big time plays, and he's a guy that you would love to have in your offense. And to be honest with you, we may have a solid comp for him on the field right now, because looking at on the team right now, because looking at the plays that he makes and the exciting thing. Now, we've only had a small sample size for our view only in the spring game. We've seen what he's done at Purdue, but he's kind of like a Deion Burks type, where he just makes exciting play after exciting play after exciting play. So he's a kid that I would. I'm definitely interested. I'm definitely hoping that we could land, because that would be a great addition to this class. Because I think that the combination of Manny Choice and him, or you could go. Or you could go with the Harris kid as well that you got out of Mater Day. The combination of those two definitely makes up for Nickens. Let's just be honest. That definitely makes up for Nickens, and that pushes you past what you had when Nickens was in that class as well. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You win.
Our wide
that.
receiver potential all over him. Or let me drop the last part. He has superstar potential label all over him. So I mean, that kid is real.
Yeah, the one, and I don't. This no shade to Jade Nickens. Everything about him being 6'3" and as athletic as he is, I watched him hoop. Dude can move. I really love what Cortez Mills and Elijah Thomas brings for you as your two kind of edge guys. I mean, if you current comps, I mean, they both can pull up as an Andrew Anthony type, right? Immediately. They both got that capabilities, and you bring in the big Manny Choice, who's your Nick Anderson, right? And then you got your two little guys with kind because Harris is kind of 6-footish. Marcus is. Grayson is shorter. He's more of a baseball / track dude. This class, hey man, Emmett Jones needs to go ahead and get that raise again. He's doing everything that he needs to do to get that raise. And all right, last CB that's come through. A lot of them's been coming through. Now this one was kind of funny to me. Got a crystal ball prediction and a future cast. Then it felt like, well, first it was Oklahoma ain't getting this dude. Every time someone goes to Oklahoma, they get all kinds of excited about it. Their writers do. Then it was like, yeah, he ain't even making a visit here at Kansas State. We're going to go ahead and say Oklahoma's won this one too. Now he decided to visit Kansas State, and they really think they got a chance. That's what KP check. As the edge out of North Dakota. West Fargo, to be exact, 6'5", 240. Adding him with the Granville and Smith Orogbo will be nasty in the class. So you've got Granville and P-Check getting both of their predictions coming here. Coop, saw him P-Check, adding him with Granville. What you think?
I like cold weather football players. I mean, you come up from North Dakota, Wyoming, anywhere up there, and guys who just want to get in there and do some damage. Petjack's a guy this is going to be another one of those guys that you went after and you looked at early, and so I got lots of smiles.
PG.
Petchak, the next Ethan Downs. No, but if you go listen to Kansas State insiders, they tell you that we're not getting him.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, remember? They'll get on there and tell you we're not getting him all day long. He ain't coming to Oklahoma. That's what they say.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because recruits, you can always find out where a recruit is going based off of Twitter. No, and board chats. So,
a tradition as old as the game itself.
Yeah, and so, yeah. I mean, Petjack is another guy like, you just said a second ago, Ethan Downs. He's just going to come in and he's going to put in the work. And Wyatt Gilmore's another one of those types of guys too. From up there in the same area. But yeah, nobody wants to listen. A lot of these Big 12 teams want. I'll have to address the finger here in a little bit. But a lot of these.
Yeah, everybody's seeing it now.
I'm sorry. I sent a Japanese knife through my finger. So there we go. That's more story later. But yeah. So no, I mean, you've got an absolute stud in Petjack coming in, and he's just going to bring hard work ethic, and you can't turn your nose against that, because I mean he's going to continue to rise, and he's going to continue to be in here to with the defensive line, it's still all about bodies. When we hit the SEC, you got to have the bodies to be coming in here, going in. And on that defensive line, you can play a little bit more with, different types of specialists, early in their career. Like, you see a Danny Okoye probably this year is going to be, going to come in on a lot of, definitely pass rush, instances. So somebody will inevitably get nicked up here and there, and you can't be walking out, your seventh or eighth guy on the defensive line and not knowing what you're getting out of that guy. And as I said earlier, with the offensive linemen, the young offensive linemen, the young defensive linemen, it's just going to be iron sharpens iron all day long.
Agreed. That's going to be the key thing going into the SEC. You got to have those bodies, and as it's mentioned, 6 deep. I mean, you just got to have enough bodies to be able to handle just the rigor of playing in that conference week after week after week, because the bigger guys all go into the SEC. And so for us, we sense that that's going to be something, we'll be prepared for, and I think we'll be able to make something happen. All right. Yeah, Coop, you want to talk about your Japanese finger incident, and then we can go into
super fast. Yeah, cooking dinner, having a nice little. My wife's birthday is tomorrow, so we did a surprise birthday for her, and I brought my mom over outside on the back porch doing some steak, and have a knife in one hand, and I hit the tongs on something, dropped them, went to grab it, and just shoved the knife right through my finger. Pulled it out. Long story. I mean, it was shot blood like 5 feet away on the side of my head, up on my windows and stuff like that. So, yeah, pretty fun stuff. And man, I've never gone into shock before, and the amount of blood that came out of that bad boy, we didn't even know that the knife went through until they were cleaning it out, and that's when I almost passed out. So that was pretty good stuff. I've broken my ankle, I've torn my knee, multiple concussions, and but yeah, that's one to where that was not fun.
Ugh. Oh shit. Yeah, just thanks for sharing that disgusting story with all of us. And of course, Topher giving us the competitive depth that we gotta.
Oh yeah, competitive depth. I don't know if that had anything to do with my finger or not, but yeah, no, that's it was there was some depth there though.
Right. Looks like Chris isn't back with us just yet for some reason, but we'll get him back in here. There's another question that was asked in here a minute ago that offensive line. Let's talk O-lineman, right? PG, we talked about this. O-lineman world is full of surprises, especially this year, because this year is literally all about your 5 stars. This class is huge on 5 stars. And this was the class that we told y'all coming into it that this was the one Beaton Bow was focused on. Well, you've got Lamont Rogers that showed up midweek, Fasusi last week, this week, and Drew Babalola. There's a few people that already asked in the chat, hey guys, what's going on with offensive line recruiting? I'm going to tell y'all, man. I think Oklahoma's in a very good position with all of them. PG, lead it off. How you feel?
I don't know what to feel. I don't know, like...
It's because it's offensive lineman recruiting. Yes, you're 100%
I listen,
right.
and for everybody to understand where I'm coming from, I have been on the Fasusi train for as long as anybody, and I'm still on it. I've just asked the question: if you land Babalola, do you still land Fasusi? And the reason why is because Texas has got to pony up, and they got to pay for him. Like you can't let Oklahoma land 2 5-star offensive linemen like that. And I don't know. I feel like I'm setting myself up for failure by saying they can do that because last year we stood up here and told you Oklahoma's going to land Williams Nwaneri, Dominic McKinley, and David Stone. One of those was true. The other 2 did not happen. And Oklahoma was in a very good spot for all 3 at one point.
Yeah.
So I have a really hard time trying to talk myself into we're going to get multiple 5-stars and a potential top 154 star when it's all said and done. Like I have a really hard time talking myself into that right now. Here's my deal. I don't care if it's Babalola or Fasusi. You land one of the 5 stars. Any Oklahoma fans got to be happy. You land Rogers or Afalava, you're happy, right? At that point, you round it out with a Sean Hutton, PWO, or he should be a scholarship guy, but you round it out with Sean Hutton, and I think you're calling it good. But if we want to take more than 2 and pay for more than 2, I'll gladly take it.
Yeah, and Chuck, yeah. It's the weirdest. And I think I'm in the same boat as PG. I'm ready to just be heartbroken and let down. Because I truly believe we're in a good position with all 3. It's wild to even think that, and PG, you're spot on. Financially, can Oklahoma do this? I think Oklahoma can. I think Oklahoma makes the choice of when they want to spend. And this class feels like the one they're like, nah, we're going to go ahead and...
But what's that number, Jay? Because as I told you, what if the Fasusi number gets up to $1 million or 1.5 million? Let's just say he gets up to that. Because Fasusi, I think, is a guy that you pay that much for out of high school because he is the best left tackle in the country right now. And he's a guy that could come in and start for you right away. Like I told you, I think Fasusi is a borderline first-round pick as a high schooler. And so, like, if you land Babalola, the price for Fasusi goes up more, and I just have a hard time seeing the staff willing to pay that much for a high schooler.
I agree.
It's just hard. It's hard to
I agree, but I still think we would. I think we would do it. I
But,
think we would.
we're also not talking about Ty Haywood because we're finalists there in the top 3. And
Coop, go ahead. I'll let Coop go, and then we'll talk about Ty Haywood when we wrap things up.
I will fight you with one hand, PG. So I just think it's this way: is you throw that coin at one person, and what does that do in the future? I mean, I do believe I believe that there are guys every once in a while that come in and you go, whatever we can do to get this person, and if we all are joking and throwing the jokes for for the NIL piece and that Oklahoma's not broke anymore. I can promise you when it comes to this class and the offensive linemen, the NIL game, we are not taking a back seat to anybody within reason. So if that number does get up to a 1.5 million for one of these cats, that's something that that's a hard swallow, because what if Fasusi comes in and I'm going to throw out a legitimate scenario. What if he comes in and he gets injured? That money's still got to go. It's still got to go there. And now you just paid $1.5 million for injured reserve. And then on top of that, I mean, what if the NFL and NCAA, what if there's a rule change in 1.5 years and dude can bounce to the NFL after 1 or 2 years? Is that a wise investment from that spot? I still think that the locker room is a big piece, but I also know that these guys talk to each other. They've been in this game. The players are not unintelligent. These guys know what's happening. And I believe that Fasusi, to say Fasusi and Nwaneri in the same voice, we're talking about caliber and potential, not character, because I will go to bat for Fasusi on character every day of the week.
And I'm not questioning
amazing. No, and I know you're not, PG, because you know him better than anybody on the screen here. But I'm just saying it's a completely different scenario. But at the same time, your numbers are tight. The numbers game from this point on with Oklahoma is tight. It's never going to be an easy conversation, recruiting class after recruiting class after recruiting class. So these numbers start getting crazy. I don't think it's going to be in the 1.5 million, but as you say, if you're Oklahoma and you pull in Hutton, you pull in Afalava, you pull in Rogers, and help me out, Babalola. You pull that class in. If you're frustrated at all by that class, take a walk, because that's probably the dopest offensive line class that we've ever pulled.
But, Coop, there's a problem with that. There's a problem with that scenario. And I've said it multiple times. If Oklahoma lands Hutton, which all it takes is a simple scholarship offer, you're landing Fasusi. You're landing Fasusi if you get Hutton.
I know they're tight. I don't know. I'm not willing to.
I'm willing to bet that. I'm willing to bet that.
Okay.
I will go to Vegas and take that bet.
PG taking the bet in Vegas.
The deal is, and
numbers don't matter. Remember
I don't
that.
think the numbers matter, because Fasusi could come in and play for you. Like, he's a Caden Green. He could come in and play for you right away year one. He's that good. So you could push somebody else out through the portal.
That is high praise, PG. That is high praise. That is very high praise.
Chris, you got to go watch Fasusi's tape. You got to go watch.
I get it, but beating Bo, it took a while for Green to get out there on the field too. It took some screw ups for some people. For him,
I know, but I'm just saying. I think I know Bill Beatonbow sees what everybody else sees, because I'm not the only one that sees this in Fasusi.
Bill Beatonbow's been heavy on Fasusi since day one, so I think he does see that too.
He's a Floyd Boucard, where you look at Floyd Boucard and say he could come in and play on a defensive line for somebody right away.
Guys, I get it. I don't know, because we've had this same type of the Caden Greens of the world, to where, I mean, it shouldn't have took the Texas game for him, but he should have been playing regardless. But at the end of the day, it's kind of beating Bo. Look, I'm not gonna say where or name the store or whatever, but driving around Norman early in the morning, you see certain OU coach that coaches the offensive line getting some coffee. Nobody bothers him. He has a stern look on his face, and I'm like, I can't figure this dude out. He's a puzzle, right? But
That's the
no,
best
what I'm
part.
saying is that look, a couple of weeks ago, I was told, hey, we're not gonna land all four of these big guys. We're not gonna do that. But it's fun to talk about. But
I
the
Hey,
don't
hard,
know. From what I just heard about some big news coming for
yeah.
Oklahoma,
Now,
that
now,
could
now, now,
change that.
guys, let me preface that again. A couple of weeks ago, I heard that. All right, so I don't know what the word is now, but a couple of weeks I heard. Look, the talks are heavy with the four big guns, right? That you want. Now you see some things start to change. It was kind of a shift in the conversation as far as one kid that wink wink. Some people are saying kind of is leaning towards that Bama Crimson Tide, right? So with that being said, the whole thing is that I'm definitely confident about two that I know that we talked about coming on screen. So I'm definitely um, uh, uh, excited about the two that I feel like, hey, we're definitely going to get, but I mean, I don't know. I just think that right now I need Beaton Bow to really go hard, get the kids that he needs, so he can finally shut up all the Beaton Bow haters.
Yeah,
Because I trust Beaton Bow wholeheartedly, and I think he's going to land an amazing goal line class coming up. I really do. I think he is. I think we're not just in the hunt anymore. I think we're leaders on some boards, and we're in a position to become the leaders in others. So this is going to be a really good. I mean, again, it's just in that same area right now where you going off of last year of what you just did with all those guys, Eddie Pierre, Autry, all those guys. I mean, it's just another class that you're going to stack talent on, and you're going to tell guys, obviously we got some seniors that are going to be, kind of phase out, hopefully go to the NFL, graduate, whatever the case may be. And then you got some guys on that list that honestly, let's be real, they're probably going to get processed. So, yeah.
yeah. And by the way, Chris, I don't know if you've seen Eddie Pierre since he's gotten to Norman, but that man, oh, he's lost probably 20 pounds, and it looks like he just converted it all to muscle.
Wow.
yeah, I mean, this is some recruits for y'all to get excited about. You got Ryan Fogier, you've got Owen Hollenbeck, and then you've got Babalola over here hanging out with Kevin Sperry, pointing out the defense. That's a big guy. He's a big set of guys.
So where do the Bill Beatonbow haters go if you land Fasusi,
can't.
Babalola, Hutton, and Afalava? Where do
Oh,
they
they'll
go?
complain about 26.
No, no.
no.
Like they got to
It's it,
disappear, right? Like
no. They're going to turn their attention to our tight end slash co-offensive coordinator coach. That's where it will go next because everybody's going to need to move on. It was Bates, then it was Chavis. Now it's Beatonbow, and we told everybody a year ago, like the 25 class on O-line was going to be it. And listen, he's already done his work because trust me, Foje is going to be elite. He is absolutely going to be elite. Hollenbeck he ain't Creed Humphrey, but he's going to start getting those comps pretty quickly.
Especially as a wrestler.
Yeah. He knows exactly what he's doing at center, and so I mean, listen. I think what's the left tackle? He's going to be a sophomore on Alabama. I don't know if
Caden Proctor.
Caden Proctor. I mean, I put Fasusi in that Caden Proctor area, Chris, is that they are going. I mean, he's a dude that GMs were making comments, and I don't know if Coach Dent's still on there because I think he knows how to evaluate talent too. But I mean, those are situations where everybody wants those guys. But Beanbo is doing his work, and if you do not land Fasusi and you land the other cats, he might mess around and get recruiter of the year in college football.
It's a fair trade. It would be a fair trade.
if he lands 1 5-star, he might get recruiter of the year.
Yeah.
Because if he lands Afalava and Rogers in 1 5-star, I mean Rogers is damn near a 5-star. But we got to remember, there's a good chance Foje rides as a 5-star too.
Yeah.
Could Oklahoma have 2 contenders for recruiter of the year? Because What if Cortez Mills and Elijah Thomas both get 5 stars, and Bill Beatonbow gets
EJ will turn it. EJ will turn it down because he's already on 26, 27, and 28. He said, "I got work to do. I'll be back with you later."
I'm just saying, like, you could have that is a realistic scenario that could happen. Like Elijah Thomas, Cortez Mills, they could both be 5 stars. Then you could have Bill Beaton over here landing Fasusi, Babalola as 5 stars, and then getting Foje, who is already a 4-star kid, but is getting talked about as a 5-star kid.
Jay, are we still? I do have one question, and this is kind of a question. I can save it if
we're
you
opening
want.
up. No, we're opening it up.
If you go back to the last page, to the last picture, please.
Okay. Yeah. Let me get you the last picture of all the big guys. Nope, that's the running back room. There you go.
So, here's the thing, because I didn't get to speak on the Jaden O'Neal thing. Are we worried about one thing that that one person that's in this picture right here? Not the guy on the left, not the guy in the middle, not the guy on the right, but the guy that's
quarterback
coming at the defense. Are we worried about him being in between Michael Hawkins and Jaden O'Neal? Are we still being hunted? Is Lincoln Riley going to hunt us forever with that, as far as that sandwich quarterback? Because I think the world of Sperry. I think Sperry is a baller. I think Sperry is going to be really good. I don't think he's afraid of competition. But are we? I think he's going to commit to OU. I mean, obviously he's committed to OU, but I'm saying I think he's going to sign and do all the rest of that stuff.
You're
right. But are we a little bit worried about that? Because I mean that's a lot. Because Michael Hawkins, who now we all think the world of, and we think is next, right? And then obviously Jaden O'Neal coming in 26 class. Is it time for us to kind of have that conversation, or is it still too early?
Can I
go ahead, PG? Yeah, lead the way on that.
Yeah, so you're gonna have Jackson Arnold this year, next year. Hawkins is gonna get it 2 years after that. And then after Hawkins, it's Jaden O'Neal's show. And I agree with you. Kevin Sperry's a great kid. I think Kevin Sperry is going to be a great quarterback, but I don't think he plays a significant starter role for Oklahoma. Jaden O'Neal is way too talented.
Sperry's on the team at that time. I think Sperry ends up playing right after Hawkins.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Jaden O'Neal, I'm not going to comp him to Caleb Williams, but if there's anybody that's as close to Caleb Williams, Jaden O'Neal might be it.
You might be right.
With size. Like with size.
Because he's a huge human being. His arm is great. The good thing with Sperry is Sperry's got a beautiful spin on his pass, and his accuracy is ridiculous.
Go to Hank's comment, and that's what I'm thinking. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Good point.
That's a great point, Hank. It
could be your Sammy boy.
Here's what I think is I don't think that if Sperry bounces because of O'Neal at this point, then he wasn't who we thought he is. Yeah. So I think that he comes in, and guess what? He's got 2 to 3 years from this point on to work on his craft, to develop his leadership, and to go after his opportunity. Now, if he comes in and he goes now, and I'm just talking Sperry. If he comes in and he competes and he loses it, I don't think Oklahoma's in a bad place. And that's great. That's the great thing to have, because I said Jaden O'Neal, he looks like college Jameis Winston. He's got that body type. Wow. He's more mobile. The leadership, though, and how he is, what he was doing in the Ever Center when he shows up, already starting to recruit. It's like that leadership piece. I'll give him the CW right there. But with the body type and what he looks like Jameis Winston. I
had somebody in my comments the other day say Jameis Winston arm, Cam Newton athleticism, which I thought was interesting. So you're saying Jameis Winston.
So let me jump in on that one. And this is no shade. He ain't no Cam Newton.
Yeah,
Cam was absurd. He was absurd. Dude, y'all know he had one other NFL player on that entire roster and carried them to the net. Cam, people don't understand the absurdity about the capabilities of Cam Newton. Even better, I actually was going to make a video on this. I don't know. I may do it as some off-season content as we're still pretty slow. But y'all know Cam was visiting Oklahoma and was looking at Oklahoma to transfer to back in JUCO days, right? And like at the last minute, he canceled his visit. I saw an article from the Oklahoman talking about him canceling. What do you think that team would have looked like with Cam Newton instead of Landry Jones?
Oh, they would have won.
Because that's would have been the situation. They bring in Cam because Stoops wanted him. You bring him in. Landry's been there for a bit. So I get where you're saying on the Sperry piece and where the challenge comes in. It's can he hold Jaden O'Neal back from taking the position and playing, right? Can he hold him back and keep him from taking his job? That is gonna be. It's a tough one. That's one that I can't.
Yeah,
as mentioned, Chris, you said it. As someone mentioned in the comments, he could be the Sam Bradford, where he's just so accurate and so good. He just goes out there and just drops dimes nonstop. But man,
that's what Jaden O'Neal is too.
Yeah.
So it's like, here's the deal. Like, if Kevin Sperry starts, and I hate to do this because we've talked about this with, I'm not going to say it for this comp, but Kevin Sperry and Jaden O'Neal could literally be another Rattler. Caleb Williams. Yeah.
But
now Kevin Sperry will probably be better than Rattler in that situation, but Sperry will always have to look over his shoulder saying, if I ever have to come out for any significant period of time, I will probably lose my job.
I just wanted to get ahead of the 8 ball on that because I feel like that's an uncomfortable topic to talk about right now, simply because so much can happen. But at the end of the day, why not do it here, right? Unfair sports, you know what I'm saying? So we should. But that's going to be something that we all talk about over the span of this next year and a half, 2 years or so, monitoring that situation an awful lot, because I definitely think some questions need to be answered. You know, some questions about that need to be answered. And
fair.
And we could end up taking all those quarterbacks and just having a flat out competition. You know, it could be open competition, but if the succession takes place before it's an open competition where it just gracefully goes to, you already know your guy's going to be Michael Hawkins, he's going to get the ball, well, then yeah, you know what I'm saying? So guys are going to have to wait their turn. Are they willing to wait their turn in this era when you know there's going to be such a shift from year to year, right? Until the NCAA figures out some type of rules, regulations, and all that.
And that's the beauty of going into the SEC, guys, is that, as has been mentioned in the comments by a few people, you may have transfers. Everybody's going to compete. I love this, Big Reg. Thank you for pointing this out. All positions are going to be compete each year. That's kind of the game. You're in the SEC now. You've got to make sure that everyone is competing for every job every single time. Same thing as recruiting your players and keeping them from hitting the portal, the ones you don't want to leave. Yeah. You've got to do both. Both sides are going to be working their butts off to make sure that we're putting the best product on the field possible and the best opportunities out there. So, yeah, I hate it for him because I like Sperry a lot. I love his spin. When he committed and he's been recruiting, I was like, man, I think he's going to be something. I think he has an opportunity for it. But when talent walks in and it's just that good, yeah, you just kind of look at it and say, dang.
I think the issue, though, is he has to, at this point, I feel like, enroll into Oklahoma and at least compete. Because I feel like now, if he bounces out before, I think it's going to be harder for him to go find another home. Like, he'd have to pretty much go join Jeff Lebby. I think a lot of places have their quarterbacks already solidified. I think it would be hard for him to go somewhere elite. As if he hits the transfer portal, he might have a little bit more options. But another quarterback that we're not talking that Oklahoma's got, because this was a very quiet get for Oklahoma, was still Wassel. He's from Oklahoma. He's from Choctaw. He's like 6'3", and in high school, that kid tore it up. Ended up committing to Akron, but he was committed there before Brent Venables came to Oklahoma in that cycle. So, like, we were just a little late to the game to be able to try to get him here. But, I mean, I don't know if Kevin Sperry's better than him, to be honest with you.
PG, the Kevin Sperry hate begins, obviously.
I'm not trying to hate
I'm
on
not
Kevin
there
Sperry.
yet, man. I'm not there.
I'm not.
Our quarterback room is just so loaded. I just don't.
We've got a lot of good talent, right? We've got a good problem. Michael Hawkins he's in practice hearing that he's doing some special stuff with Jackson Arnold. They're throwing the kitchen sink at Jackson Arnold, so he has to work a lot harder. And then as Hawkins is coming in and getting acclimated to the playbook, he's starting to look really, really good. You're going to bring Sperry in January. You'll get to hear about him in practice and going into spring game to determine what that looks like. That's your 3 quarterbacks you'll have for next season. And then once if Jackson Arnold is as advertised, he should be gone after the 25 season. Then that's when you've got your backlog of who wins it. Is it Michael Hawkins with his athleticism and his elusiveness and his ability to get some passes on dots? Kevin Sperry, who's probably the more accurate out of the two. And then you got big Jaden O'Neal coming in that January trying to be the next freshman quarterback to start here. We got a good problem. But, man, it's going to be fun to see what it looks like going into SEC. Because I think that Jaden O'Neal is going to end up 5-star by the end of the cycle. I feel like he's on that trajectory, and the way that he's raved about.
He might be the best quarterback in that class.
Possibly, yeah. But we just got to get him to commit first, right? So we'll find out Monday.
Yeah, we got to commit first.
What that looks like. But, hey, I mean, I want to count my chickens before they hatch.
You said something interesting, and I think this could throw a wrench in things, and this is what probably gives Kevin Sperry an opportunity. If Jackson Arnold is not what we think he is and what he was advertised to be, Michael Hawkins probably takes his job, whether it's this season or the start of next season. And I think at that point, Kevin Sperry probably gets an opportunity.
That's a fair point.
I think, but I mean, a lot of that's going to be dependent on, because here's the deal. Hate to tell people, Hawkins really is that dude. Like, he's that dude. So I think a lot of it's dependent on Jackson Arnold not being that dude.
Yeah, and that's the question. What does he look like this season? We'll know this season about Jackson Arnold. As I mentioned, I've talked about this ad nauseum on a few pieces. The thing to remember that BV and M don't take it lightly on him. He's getting the treatment that Kevin Wilson and Sam Bradford got when BV was defensive coordinator here. They're throwing the kitchen sink at the kid, and so he's gonna have to adapt quickly. But the good thing for him is that he's potentially seeing one of the top 3 defenses he's gonna see the entire season, right? The closest better defense you could possibly see is going to probably be Alabama, maybe Pete Golding and Ole Miss. But I don't trust Pete Golding.
Georgia.
We don't play Georgia unless we see him in the SEC championship.
Who you said who we see?
Yeah, I'm telling you, just who we see, just who he's going to actually have to go against. You got Ole Miss, Alabama. I don't think Texas defense is going to be that good yet. They still got a lot of pieces to get together. Maybe next year Texas seems more terrifying, but he's going to see that. And if he shows up against if he goes against Tennessee, who has James Pierce Jr., who's probably the number 1 pick next year, and he's prepared, and we keep him from terrorizing us, then there's no questions. So if there's issues at that point, yeah, you're right. Michael Hawkins could walk in and say, hey, man, go ahead and give him an opportunity. And, James Pierce is going to probably be our telltale, right? Because he's probably going to get at least 1 or 2 hits just because he's that talented.
So that Arnold's going to see is Auburn, LSU's secondary, and probably Alabama's defensive line, and then Tennessee right behind Alabama's defensive line. In that order. In that order.
Yeah, I'd say that. I can see that. That's fair. That's a fair assessment because
I'm not worried about LSU's defensive line because it's hot garbage, but I am worried about LSU's secondary.
It's super young. Yeah, it's super young. Like, McKinley's going to be really good, but I think Bo Davis will get them. Next season, I'm concerned about them. Just 1 year underneath Bo Davis, I think that we may run into some issues. But
Auburn,
they don't have it.
Problem. Auburn's going to be a problem with Jordan Hare. Because Auburn's defense will show up.
It should. I mean, Hugh Freeze isn't a defensive guy, but sure, it
That's
should.
going to be what, a 2:30 game? It's going to show up.
It should.
I think we'll be okay. I think we'll just have to weather that storm first and just get through it. But I think it's going to be perfect weather out there, and we should be able to go out there and ball. But I want to say this and just end it here.
Okay.
Not the alphabet, okay? Your A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, okay? My alphabet.
Okay.
Most 3 frustrating letters in my alphabet right now are J, J, F. Okay? And I'm just going to leave it there.
Here we
We don't
go.
even have to say nothing else about it. But let me say it again. Not the alphabet, my alphabet. JJF. Frustrating right now. Very frustrating. Can't even land in my backyard. But they're very frustrating.
I'm not
very
even frustrated with our guy, man.
He's already got a 26 guy. I think the Jake Roberts and Devon Mitchell pieces, nobody wants to give him any credit for those, and everybody wants to throw him under the bus because of the other Roberts to Ohio State. But yeah, I mean, Joe John Finley he's got his place, and this is where you just go, hey, I trust in this coaching staff, and if they see a weak link, they will address it. And with EJ coming up like he is, I just say let's see what happens. If we see this year there's no improvement in usage of the tight end, then yeah, I think that the full JJF slander, have at it. But I want to see this year because that's one of the reasons why Roberts is heading over to Ohio State, is because we didn't show much out of that last year, and we didn't really have that capability. But I think with if you can get Helms healthy, he's starting. I mean, he looks like it. McIntyre, Roberts, and Kate and Sharp, Bauer Sharp, they've got weapons and they've got capability. So this year will tell us a lot about JJF. And so if we go into next year and it's same as much as what we saw with Lebby, but everybody tossed Lebby under the bus last year, and rightfully so. But still, we gotta. I think we give JJF this year to really show, because he's got some pieces that he can work with now.
Oh, and I'm also mention this. He did get Bauer Sharp in here. He got Jake Roberts. That was his job. So. And if Jake and Bauer were 2 of the higher graded receiving tight ends in the SEC going into next year. So that shocked me. I did a video on that. Shocked the mess out of me. Y'all can check it out here on this channel, go on the Unfair Sports channel. It shocked me that we've got guys that are actually look like they're legitimate. Now, he's just got to make sure that they show that at the next level, at this level. If they do show this here in the SEC, we kind of got to lay off a little bit of the slander, because I said this before too. This is my thought. If JJF focuses his efforts on the portal, I won't be mad at him. If he brings more Bauer Sharps in and he shows up, I can't be mad at that.
Well, and he might get a 5-star in 2026 as well. So
who?
I think Ryder Mix will be a 5-star.
Well, I mean, he's got the size and he's got the program. He's got the program spotlights. So, it's proof of concept. I mean, I saw it a couple times in there. It's proof of concept. We, based off expectations and hope and the hopium that is running, it's not unwarranted. So yeah, let's see. 2024 is going to be a big year for the offense in general.
Yeah, I mean, right now he's 12th in tight ends. We got to see what he does in camps. He's gonna have to really show out. I mean, he's got some good size at the 6'4", 220. But I know one player that y'all gonna be surprised about: Trinae Washington. Just
That
hear
too.
your boy.
Yeah,
I watched him in 101s in camp.
Oh,
Just understand, you're gonna be surprised in a very shockingly happy way when you see Trinae Washington ball. Dog, Trinae is good. He's your tight end. That's your tight end for this class right now, right? If you wanted to, you could move C.J. Hickson over there when he commits. He's going to commit to Oklahoma, right? He picked Oklahoma State. I don't see how we losing this to little brother. He's another one that's gotten a lot of crystal balls. We're just waiting for him to make that happen. But for real, Trinae Washington is the one player. He's listed as an athlete. He's the one player that's going to make y'all be like, oh, okay. Shout out to our guy, Joe John Finley, for this one. Because he can play.
And Jay, yeah, I think we're not dogging on Joe John Finley. And a lot of okay,
Chris is. Chris is.
I am not. But I think that Devon Mitchell was, a lot of people give that credit to the Hawkins family.
Yep.
And to that relationship with Hawkins. And I think that's where a lot of people leave that off. So like I said, let's see what happens. I mean, he's already got somebody in on the 26 class. And so if you're like, hey, he can't, or the 25, hey, he can't recruit, or whatever, 26, I'm sorry. They're recruiting so far out now. It's just some of these numbers don't even make sense to me. But
this is why I need to come back to this show more often than I do. Coop is actually over here trying to be sympathetic to someone else's plight, like, you know what I'm saying. And you got PG taking shots and hot takes. What have I been missing? What's going on?
What's the hot take?
Yeah. I'm just saying.
What's the hot take? A 5-star
thing was crazy.
Listen, I don't know if you've seen Ryder make this film.
I didn't come here to ruffle feathers. I'm just.
Listen, I don't know if you've seen.
You came here to ruffle feathers. Don't complain,
my good sir.
This is different. This is different. I thought Coop would be backing me up right now, saying, "Oh, yeah, Chris."
Hey,
yeah.
Chris, no. You're not hearing me. I am not going to. I said 20 this year tells us everything. After this year, if we do not see the proof of concept, because he did not have bodies. Austin Stogner was just a guy out there because they had to put a tight end, because we have had a glorified H-back, for the past couple years, even Braden Willis, that was not a tight end. That was not that. So there's only one. Oni Kuno, you kill me. Only one Bubba Moses. I just absolutely think that this year is going to tell us everything that we need to know for Joe John Finley. And if we do not see it, then something needs to happen.
Caden Helms is about to make Chris look really silly this year. Because when Caden Helms hits the field as a tight end for Oklahoma,
more athletic Grant Calcaterra. That's what I keep saying. I said if he can get the field, that's what I see.
He looks healthy, man. Supposedly he's at that point where he's ready to do it. So,
but Chris, also I think we could still land an elite tight end in this class outside of Trinae Washington, because, and I was telling Jay this earlier, if you can really show a lot of concept with the blocking schemes with Jake, and then Bauer Sharp goes out there and tears it up as a pass-catching tight end, I think you have a real shot at flipping Nate Roberts on signing day. I think the biggest thing for Nate Roberts was there was no concept at Oklahoma for him. And he's going to be at some Oklahoma games this year. He's going to be at some big ones. So he's going to be there watching his brother. He'll be there for at least senior day, which I think senior day is the Alabama game.
Yes, that'd be last home game of the season. So yes.
Last home game.
So
wow.
I think we got a shot to flip Roberts, and if that happens, I think a lot of the JJF will that slander will disappear.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair point. All right.
The only year he's not recruited tight ends well.
I mean, we say he hasn't recruited well. I think we did well in the portal. I'm sorry.
I'm talking about on the recruiting trail. On the recruiting trail.
And on the recruiting trail, yeah. I mean, Devon Mitchell did. He's a 25, but he's in 24. He's only 17 years old. He's huge, by the way. He's a huge human being. Yeah, I get it. I get it. But, I mean, the slander for JJF, though, man,
OU fans are going to have somebody to point their ire at, and it's the coach. It's always going to be. DeMarco Murray was getting trounced like 2 years ago. Let's not forget about that. Todd Bates might not have been the great hire that we thought he was at the beginning of the year last year for some of these fans. So just doing air quotes doesn't really work for me currently.
After Bill,
it doesn't. Not only one finger that works.
It's,
so yeah,
it's
you
going
can't.
to Todd Bates, and I was telling Jay this earlier because I said
like
Oklahoma and Texas are in a very similar issue right now with interior defensive linemen because they haven't had enough. They need to put some guys into the NFL for them to start landing some of these elite guys. And so, although we landed David Stone, everybody expected Bates to go out there and do that. So I think everybody's attention will turn back to Bates and say, well, you had a small class in 25. What are you going to do for me in 26?
Yeah.
But if
It's
Dominic
what have you done
Williams
for me
into the
lately?
league, that changes everything.
It's a what have you done for me lately industry regardless. Like, we talk about the players that they developed at Clemson, and they don't get credit for that. So as long as we keep doing what we're doing, we'll be good. All right, we're going to wrap it up, put the bow in it. We'll go around the horn. Let everybody know where to find them. Chris, tell the people where they can find you.
Guys, you guys can find me at the Horns Down Podcast on YouTube. Find me at the Horns Down Pod on Twitter. Chris with _K on Twitter. Definitely like, subscribe, do all those things to this video here. Guys, thanks for having me on here. It's always a pleasure.
Always, dog, always. And PG.
Yeah, y'all can find me at the PG Show. This is one of my co-hosts. She wanted to hop on here as well, Miss Ruby Jane. But yeah, you can find me over there on YouTube. You know, we talk a lot of recruiting content, and it's about to heat up for the next couple weeks.
Oh, yes, it is. And, of course, y'all know Coop, who's getting his sips in. He'll be dropping y'all some quick nuggets on some recruits in the future over there on the Sooner or Later Sports Show channel. Check it out. And, yeah, we'll chop it up with y'all. I don't know. Oh, we'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Promise you that. Peace.